Hello. Okay, there we go. So I'm on YouTube and Facebook. Okay. Just waiting for people to turn up. I always think I should have something to say while I'm waiting for people to turn up, but there's not many people here to listen to it anyway, so we're just sort of waiting here. Okay. You can ask your questions anytime. By the way, my name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you want, I'm just here to answer parenting questions. You can go in the link above and you can get my free behavior board, excuse me, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. You have to send me an email because my schedule is pretty busy these days. So, okay. So you can ask away if you have any parenting questions. If not, I'll just sit here and sip on my Diet Pepsi. I've got my dishwasher going. Sorry about that. I actually have a second room there. I could set up as an office, which would be very quiet. You wouldn't even hear the dishwasher, but I like being right here. I like being in the middle of everything. Oops. What did I do here? Whoops. Got all sorts of wires going. Okay. Hi. What is an age appropriate for corrective action for 10-year-old that yells and screams at us when angry? 10-year-old. Is that 10-year-old that yells and screams? I need to know the age. Is it a 10-year-old? What's the appropriate corrective action? Well, I don't do corrective actions over the age of at 3 and above. I use the behavior board. So is it 10 or is there some other age? What's your name here? Emily. Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that. So I'm also on YouTube at the same time. If you have any questions on YouTube, feel free to ask. I'm just here to answer your questions. 2 years old. Oh, 2-year-old. Okay. Corrective action could be like if they hit with something and they have a toy and they hit, you just take that toy away and say no. If they just hit, you just grab their hand that they hit with and you say no. Then you sort of push them away a little bit. It's just a message. You got to keep doing it over and over and over again. It's going to take them forever to learn this, but they will eventually learn. You can't reason with a toddler. It doesn't. Sometimes you can, but it's only if they're not that passionate about what they're doing anyway, then they'll stop doing it. But otherwise, no, they're not going to stop. Another one could be, well, you remove them from the fun or the fun from them. That's how it goes. So there could be a million different things you could do, right? This is my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1 is childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world, not your world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You watch how they play and you join in. Number 4 is when you want to discipline a toddler, it's about consistent corrective actions. They're not about words. So again, you enter their world when you want to discipline them. It's not all these mini therapy sessions that are so common right now. Discuss your big feelings and all that. That's for the mother. It has nothing to do with the toddler. Anyway, and it doesn't work. Anyway, number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. Then you said, yeah, but when they yell and scream at us, yeah, I just ignore that kind of stuff. What are you going to do about it? How can you literally stop a child from yelling and screaming? You just have to ignore it, and they'll find another way. They tend to lean into what works, what gets them attention, and lean away from what doesn't. So, yeah. Like if I was playing with them and they started screaming, I'd get up very, very quickly, and I'd get up and just walk away. I have and do all those things other than toy rotation. Then something else is going on or you just have to wait it out, okay? I don't know. Like there's so many variables with human beings, right? I don't know, you might be doing something just a little bit differently that makes this not work. Or maybe you've just got a more stubborn toddler and it's going to take a couple of months. Everyone wants to fix their kids. You fix yourself and they will follow. So yeah, you got to fix your style. And a lot of it with toddlers is just your expectations are too high with toddlers. They're nuts. They don't make any sense. How do you begin the process of eliminating the expectation of treats after every meal and when at the store? So you've trained them that they get a treat whenever they have something or they go to the store. So you just say, no more treats, but I don't know how old they are. So it makes it, are they like 8 or are they 2? Makes a difference. So yeah. Like I told my kids from a very young age, they knew, like I said, if you ask for it, I'm just filling a demand. If you ask for it, you'll never get anything. A treat is a surprise, something I decide to do once in a while. So they did get treats once in a while, but it's only a treat if it's once in a while, right? What is toy rotation for? So you get rid of most of their toys, put them in boxes up in a cupboard that they don't have access to. And you only have a few toys out at any given time. Maybe once a week, once every couple of weeks, you have them pack up all their toys and then they get new toys out. The idea is they're not overstimulated. They can actually focus on something if they only have a few of them in front of them. Think about the way school runs. Do they throw all the activities in the middle of the classroom and say, have at it? No, they don't. They have okay, now we're going to be doing this. Now we're going to be doing that. So the idea is teaching them how to focus. Also, it's a lot easier for them to keep their room clean or keep the toys clean, okay? If they only have 5 toys to pick up. Okay, Sarah said the age. How do you begin the process of eliminating expectation of treats at the stores? Oh, they're old enough. I would just say, look, we messed up. Say, we messed up. We shouldn't have been doing that, so we're not going to be doing that except once in a blue moon, we'll get you a treat, okay? Say, and say it like, own it. It's not their fault. You trained them to do that. So say, we messed up. We shouldn't have been giving you all these treats every single day. So we're not going to do that once in a while. But if you ask for it, you won't get it. Because a treat is a surprise. And it doesn't happen every day. How do you help them process toxic co-parent messaging with being negative about the other parent? I don't know who's negative, who isn't. That's coaching, by the way. I can't answer that. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. I'd have to assess the situation and then guide you through it. That's all. I can't possibly comment on that on live. Yeah, I need a lot of back information for that one. So you can check out the link if you want to look at coaching. If you're interested, send me an email. But I can't take everyone on. I'm really busy these days. But how to handle toddler and new baby with tantrums and adjusting to the new sibling but still holding boundaries. Yeah, you can't. You can't help a toddler adjust to a new baby. That takes time. Like you can't fast track it. How on earth could they possibly understand what's just happening? Right? They just get used to it. They don't understand it. Like you can't explain it and they're not going to go, oh, I get it. New baby comes in. They have a lot of needs. It's not like that. They just get used to having the new baby around. So it's going to take time. It's a transition. Toddlers don't do well with transitions usually. Jasmine said, I do toy rotation and it's amazing. Yeah, I just always did that with my kids. I'm more of a minimalist anyways. We didn't have a lot. So my kids from the age of 3 had 3 chores every day. They had to put away their laundry. They had to clean up their toys or clean up their room, and they had to make their bed. It took under 2 minutes because literally making their bed, they throw the covers up like that. They had 5 toys to put away, and I had open shelving, so there was a spot for everything. I'm very organized. Also, I did laundry every single day, so they had one outfit to put away. And there was an empty hanger and an empty spot where their rolled up socks went, where their rolled up undies went. I made it very easy for them, literally under 2 minutes. But they learned. They just learned how to look after themselves, how to clean up after themselves. Then when they were teenagers, they had messy rooms. So, I let them have that when they were teenagers. You got to give something. Okay. My son's friends swear at home and listen to value music. Okay. How do I say no without being the enemy? My son's friends swear at home and listen. How do you say no? You mean to your son for not swearing? Just say, look, I'm not their mother. It's none of my business what they do, but you're my kid. So, don't get pulled into that, but they get to do it. My kids, I think one of my kids said that once. Said, well, they get to do it. I said, well, I'm not their mother. That's all I said. If I was their mother, they wouldn't be doing it either. Yeah, I don't explain myself. And they already understand it anyway. They instinctively know they're asking for something that you shouldn't be doing anyway. So that's why if they respect you, they don't tend to ask anyway. Is a 3-year-old who's extremely attached to mom a bad thing? So you got that extra dependency thing going? Yeah, just get them involved in stuff. Get them out there. Get them in swimming lessons, gymnastics, whatever, dance, whatever. Get them involved in stuff and do the dump and run. And when you dump them off somewhere, you don't make a big deal out of goodbyes or hellos. You just drop them off and say, have fun. I'll be in the parking lot or I'll be sitting up there, and just get them out there. It just takes practice. That's kind of in the small stuff department. They outgrow that. When they're teenagers, they won't want anything to do with you and you'll wish that was happening now. You know what I mean? Oh, it's just 2.5-year-old stuff. Everything you're asking about this conversation, singing, yelling, yeah, they're just nuts anyway. So you ignore the behavior that you can't stop anyway. You can't stop them from singing and yelling. You can't. What are you going to do? Gag them? I mean, you can't. So you just ignore what you don't like, and then you reward what you do like. Like it's like tantrums. You ignore the crazy and reward the calm. So, yeah. Whenever I get hired by someone who has older kids and they also have tantrums, tantrums. If they also have toddlers, sometimes I'll ask them, I'll say, do you want to talk about the toddler? And they go, no, they're just crazy. They already get it. Like, you don't try and figure them out. They just don't make sense. You got to sort of suffer through those years sometimes. They're cute as a button, but they can be a real pain too. I have a 4-year-old who has been melting down when he doesn't want to do something. Okay. At 4 years old, that shouldn't be happening. Like, he can control himself, but if you're a leader, that wouldn't happen. So their behavior between the ages of 3 and 12 years old is 100% a direct result of your parenting. So set yourself up as a leader, and that just doesn't happen. It tends to calm them down. They tend to respect you. They would be embarrassed to act like that, at 4 years old. Not so much at 3, but by 4. Yeah. So look at the boot camp course that's up above in the link. And it's all about you and your leadership skills. It's 5 weeks for you to learn how to be a leader. Getting respect is hard work. Once you've got it, maintaining it's a piece of cake. But learning how to do this is the hard work. I always said, I was just talking to someone earlier, a new client, and I said the first session or two, really, it's frustrating because you're just learning and nothing seems to be working. But usually by the 3rd week, parents kind of start to go, oh, I get it now. It's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's like anything. Because you're kind of changing who you are in a way. You're going from whatever you were before as a parent. You're changing your identity as a parent. So it's hard work, but it pays off. It's worth it. That's what they say. They go, oh, I get it. Yeah, this is great. It's going well, but it doesn't happen overnight. My son has an issue with over-exaggerating or lying about things. My mother used to say, I came from a very funny family. She used to say, if you can, what was it? How'd she word it? If you recognize the story by the time you've told it 100 times, then it must be boring. Like, she always said, you have to embellish to make everything interesting. So I always remembered that. She goes, by the time I've told the story 10 times, I don't even recognize it anymore. So, but yeah, lying is different. Okay. So put down no lying on the behavior board. And every time he lies, just say, that was a lie. So here's the consequence. No big deal. There's the rule, no lying. If he breaks the rule, here's the consequence. Whenever you're disciplining kids, it's like a business transaction. There are no emotions that are appropriate when you're disciplining. It's just calm as a cucumber. I didn't know cucumbers were calm. I don't think I've ever used that phrase. I don't know why I pulled it out. Anyway, okay. Can you give us an idea of the range it costs for private counseling? Just look it up. It's all up above. So you can just look that up. I don't do 1 or 3 sessions anymore. I'm just too busy. And I know I get the best results with 5 sessions. That's why the boot camp is 5 weeks. And it's 5 chapters, sort of lessons in there. Anyway, so yeah, I don't do the 1 and 3 sessions because onboarding a new client is a lot of work. So it's not worth it for me for 1 session and barely for 3, but for 5, it's worth it. Because I know I can get them results. It's frustrating. When I used to get people for 1 session, they would often hire me for more after that. They just want to take me out for a test drive, and that's fine. But I don't do that anymore. But anyway, I get them for 1 session, and then I don't even get to check in and see how things are going. It was just I didn't enjoy it. It was really frustrating for me, actually. So yeah, I threatened to get rid of that for ages. I just got rid of it, I think, in January this year. How do I make my kids bully-proof? Depends on the age, but this is how, I'll tell you a story about how a kid tried to bully me. I was in grade 2. It's only happened once in my life. I've never been bullied. But anyway, I had to go to the bathroom, and it was in school, and I was in grade 2. And the hallway was empty. I'd never seen that before at school. I never had to go to the bathroom in the middle of class. So anyway, I was coming back from the bathroom in this empty hallway. It was really neat, so no one else is in there. And coming out of the principal's office down the hall is the school bully. He was in grade 5. I'm in grade 2. And he sees me all alone, the tiny little grade 2 kid. And he's like licking his chops. He's like, you just know he's going to come up to me. So sure enough, I couldn't get around him because I had to get past him to get to the class. So anyway, He comes right up in my face, and my last name was Hanky, and he comes right up in my face and he goes, "Hanky Panky." And I looked up at him and I said, "I prefer Snot Rag and Boogie Bundle. Oh, well, got to get back to class." And he never came near me again. So what I had done, was I'd agreed with him. I used humor, and then I redirected, which gave him an out. I didn't understand what I was doing, but that's what I'd done. He never came near me after that. Why would he? It's like, oh, what's she doing? Anyway, he went on to someone who would cry. So, but what you do is you role play with your children. So you teach them how to agree with the bully. And then if he says, "Gee, you got big ears," "Yeah, we call ourselves the Dumbo family." "Ah, ha, ha. Anyway, what game do you like playing at lunch?" Or, So yeah, it's hard to do, but if you role play it at home with your kids, like I did this with my kids, and they were never bullied. So you role play at home, and when you get used to role playing it with them and they're used to practicing it, it comes out easier when they're up against the bully. It doesn't always work if it's been long-term bullying and it's been going on for a long time. It might be harder. And if it's physical, nothing's going to work anyway. Adults have to intervene if it's physical bullying. But that's violence. That's different. Bullying is usually just verbal. The other one is violence. But yeah, that's what I did. Just like if anyone said anything to me, yeah, well, crazy Lisa. My 6-year-old refuses to sleep alone. He says he's scared. I actually have a course called Bedtime Battles. If you're interested, you can check that out. It's one of my mini courses. It goes from 2 to 8 years old. And it's in 2 parts, how to get them to bed and then how to keep them there. That's the hard part. But what you do, what I used to do with my kids, they went through that stage where they were afraid of the boogeyman. So I said, okay, boogeymen are afraid of mothers, especially me. They don't like me at all. So I said, I'm going to check everything. I looked behind the curtains. I looked in the closet. I looked under the bed. I said, no boogeyman here. And I said, now that he knows I'm on the case, he's not coming anywhere near you. So they were quite okay with that. But yeah, it's just a stage. Okay, 4-year-old uses phrases like, "I can't be happy, you don't love me, I'm not going to have friends," whenever I say no. If they're only saying, it's just manipulation. If they're only talking like that just because you said no and they're mad, who cares? Just go, whatever. But if they're talking like that when you're on Dumbo at Disneyland going around, so you know what I mean? If they're supposedly happy and they start talking like that, then I'd look into it. It's just manipulation. I'd just go, whatever. Yeah, I never quite know what to say when people say their toddlers are kicking on the change table. It's just a stage they go through. Just got to hold them down and get them changed. Like, it's just a stage. So, yeah. I don't even use distraction because I find that sort of the pleaser parent style. I just said, yeah, I'm going to change your nappy. I raised my kids in Australia. It was nappies over there. Yeah, I'm going to change your nappy. And I just held them down like that, changed them like that, and they didn't tend to fight me. They were more inclined to fight their dad, who would use distraction, who would play with them, who would negotiate with them. But yeah, when they know you're just going to take action and do it anyway. But yeah, they all go through stages. Okay, I'm gonna dispute this one. My daughter's consistently bullying her brother. She is 9 going on 16. Whenever I hear that, I say, we'll talk when she's 16. Everyone seems to think their daughter is 9 going on 19. I hear that all the time. And I say, yeah, we'll talk when she's 19. Yeah, she's not going on 16. She may pull out the attitude, but when they get a sliver or something, then they're 9 years old. Then they're 2 years old, right? Anyway, you ask her to stop. Why do you ask her to stop bullying? Okay, I put down no bullying your brother. Sorry, my throat's bugging me today. No bullying your brother. And I would put that on the behavior board. And when she does, there's a consequence. And you can put in brackets, I will decide when you're bullying. Just put it down there. I don't like the word bully, like I wouldn't use it outside of the home, but between brother and sister, yeah, I'd put it down there. No bullying your brother. And just have a consequence. Don't ask her to stop. It'd be like the police. Can you please not speed? Is that going to get anywhere? If you knew that's all they're ever going to do, was that ever going to work? Instead, you're going to say, I'm going to give you a ticket if you speed. Then I would stop speeding. You see what I mean? So yeah. At what age is it necessary to cut naps? Okay, well, that is subjective. You can't possibly put an age on that. because some kids are still napping at 4 and 5 years old. My kids both stopped regular naps at 12 months old. They just didn't need a lot of sleep. They're all completely different. So yeah, can't. If they're not sleeping well throughout the night, then you might want to cut out the naps. It's going to be a rough couple of days though, because they are going to be cranky and tired during the day until they get used to going to bed. You know what I mean? Like, it's a transition. But yeah, no one can answer that. They might say there's all these, what are they called? The markers. They should be doing this at this age and that at that age. It's just a guesstimate. Lots of kids start walking at 8 months old. Lots of kids walk at 18 months old. So there is no, this is exactly what every single kid should be doing at this age. It doesn't work that way. It's just a suggestion or just an idea. Oops, I got to skip ahead because people come and go, and I just want to make sure. Okay. What should I do when my 15-year-old son is having a violent meltdown, shouting terror? Okay, once he's gone off the cliff, I can't help you with that. Why is he having a meltdown? You want to avoid the meltdown in the first place. So once it's happening, what can you do? Nothing. He's 15. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. So I would have to investigate and figure out why he's having meltdowns in the first place. So yeah. And how do you deal with it? Like going into it, what causes it? Do you roll your eyes? Do you threaten him? Do you, what's going on? So yeah, why is he having these violent meltdowns? I specialize in teenagers. If you want to look at coaching, it's in the link above. But yeah, once they've gone off the cliff, not much you can do. It's the prevention. And something a lot of parents do. And parents often argue with me with teenagers. Well, not so much anymore because I'm older than all of them, all the parents. But when I first started my business, I specialized in teen crisis work. So when I was younger than a lot of my clients, so now I'm older than everybody. But and then they actually argue with me. Now here they hire me because I'm a specialist with teenagers. And then they would say, but that's not fair. The teenager's being unreasonable. And I go, welcome to parenting teenagers. It's not about right fighting. It's not about being right. It's not about fairness. It's about getting the best out of them. It's about building them up. It's about, having them succeed rather than fail all the time. But a lot of parents argue that because they still want it to be fair and reasonable. They say, but I do so much for him and he doesn't even appreciate it. And I'm like, and your point? Yeah, it's teenagers. You got to understand what you're dealing with. And that's the problem. Yeah, it's the same with toddlers. A lot of parents struggle with toddlers because they just their expectations are out of whack. They're going to be nuts sometimes. They're going to go through stage after stage. They might bite their arm and, parents are like, oh my God, he bit his arm. Yeah, you might go like this and smear poop on the wall too. I mean, they're just going to do stuff. And teenagers, they're not going to do the exact same things as that, but they're just going to do things that you've just got to understand how to deal with it. Also, a lot of parents tend to escalate situations. Like if your teenager's coming at you in an angry way, you don't get reasonable and say, well, if you didn't talk to me like that, blah, blah, blah. Escalate, things are going to get ugly. The best thing you should do then is say, I'll tell you what, can we discuss it after dinner? If you roll your eyes or if you say when you calm down, good luck with that. That's an escalator. They're just going to go amp it up. So yeah, when you calm down, we'll talk about, a lot of parents can't help themselves. They just say stuff like that. Yeah. Can you calm down? Or when you calm down, we'll talk about it. Just say, I'll tell you what, can we talk about it after dinner? Like no emotions, just, it's very hard for them to get angry at that. They might, that's okay. Say, I understand, let's just talk after dinner, okay? Advice on how to deal with family that have close in age to ours but have very different parenting styles. 4-year-old niece doesn't listen when in our house. Well, that's none of your business. That's not your kids. Like I have grandkids. I would never tell other people how to parent. It's none of your business. Would you want people telling you how to parent? Like friends tell you, by the way, this is what you should be doing. Yeah, don't do it. I've never done it. Like I'm here, you're soliciting my advice here as a parenting coach, but in my personal life, I've never told anyone how to parent. And I'll never tell my kids how to parent. It's none of my business. They're not my kids. Yeah, 15-year-old meltdown due to him taking back. Yeah, I know, that's all coaching. You'd have to hire me for that. I deal with this every day. So yeah, it's a process. You're going to hate me in the first session. if you hire me. First session, parents are always kind of mad at me. That's okay. I'm used to it. Because, never mind, I won't tell you what I do. But with teenagers, everyone wants to address their behavior, but it's not how it works. Yeah. But actually, someone hired me, and I think our first session was last week, and they have a 15-year-old. It's the most common age for being hired with boys. 15, term 15. Girls, 12 to 16. Boys, just turned 15 is the most common age I'm hired to work with parents and boys. Anyway, she's this parent. I don't even remember if it was a dad or a mom that said this. And they said, we know we're going to hate you in this first session. We're okay with that. And watch me talk about that. But yeah, it's a process. We got to do some base work first before we can do what you really want. We can't even address what you want until we do some basic stuff first. Okay. What time is it? Okay, good. Got to be careful. I keep running late because I get talking too much and then I run late. I don't like to do sessions at night, but oftentimes I have to because of time peak. I get clients from all over the world. So I've got a session after this. That's why I'm being very careful with my voice, because it can kind of wear out, because I've been doing sessions today too. So I got to be very careful with my voice. My 13-year-old doesn't want to get off the TV because he said he didn't get TV time. We have a rule, no screens after 7 p.m. Okay, I don't do that like that. I have lots of videos on this, media management or screen time. This is what I suggest you do. And the hours, don't worry about that. You pick how many hours a week you want them to be on screen time. But as an example, let's say, okay, you've got 10 hours a week. You decide when you use it, okay? And let them manage it themselves. And you keep track of the minutes. So if they're on screens for 35 minutes, then you deduct that from the 600 minutes they've got or whatever you've decided on. So you're the timekeeper, but they're in charge of when they do it. You know what happens if you're a real pleaser parent and they don't trust you, they don't believe you to follow through with this stuff? So they're going to use up all their screen time by Wednesday, and then they've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday with no screens. And parents say, it's going to be hell. And I go, yeah, but it's going to be worth it. No one wants the storm. They all want the rainbow. It's impossible. You can't change, especially with teenagers, you can't change things up and try to go from a pleaser parent or an authority parent into a leader without some transition aches and pains. You got to be willing to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. And yeah, those 4 days without screens, it's a big fat storm for sure, but it's worth it. You got to stick to your word. And then I would always say, well, that was your choice. You had that 10 hours. It was your choice. Nothing to do with me. You chose to do that. You chose to use up all but they didn't believe that you were going to follow through. That's the thing. But they will learn very quickly. Yeah, teenage stuff is, my boot camp course goes from 3 to 12 years old. Teenagers you got to change how you parent. I mean, it was my favorite age with my kids, actually. But I knew how to adjust to teenagers. There's always some hiccups along the way, but nothing big. And but yeah, you've got to learn how to back off a little bit and let them be more the leader. If they do something stupid, and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Like, laugh it off, use humor, allow them to make mistakes. Don't be so hard on them. They're growing, they're turning into adults soon. You've got to allow them to make some mistakes. There's no shame in that. So yeah, say, yeah, I made mistakes too. Oh, well, yeah, it's part of life, right? Parents tend to expect more from their children than they do from themselves, which is interesting. Yeah. I would have to honestly say I didn't. I was pretty fair about that because I already understood that, that's a really poor way to go about parenting, to expect this much from them and this much from yourself. But a lot of parents do that. It's quite interesting. They just expect, well, you respect me. I can yell at you. I can do whatever I want. And you respect me. It doesn't work that way. I worked for it. I earned it. I gave respect to get it. So yeah, you got to work it. Okay, I'm going to move over to Instagram now. I'm also on YouTube the whole time I'm doing these lives. And I don't want to be late for Instagram because I usually am. I get yabbering on too much. So I'm going to be moving over to Instagram from Facebook here. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. And then I'll be going over to TikTok after that. Anyway, check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. You have to apply for coaching now because I'm really busy. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. And I'm going over to Instagram now. Wish they all did that. I love that little ding at the end. I think it's cute. Okay. Instagram. Make sure I'm on the right channel. Done. Okay, there's no questions on YouTube. YouTube's my smallest audience. Instagram's a really busy live, as is TikTok. Which means I don't get to half the questions. Hello. Getting waves. You might have come over from, who came over from Facebook? Can you let me know? I'm just curious how many people follow me, like from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. I know some do. So did you come over from Facebook, or you just turned up on Instagram? They're often very different audiences, not me. Okay, yeah, they're very different audiences. I would say TikTok and Instagram seem to be more, they tend to go together more. It's interesting. Okay, teach 4th grade and use your tips. Thank you. A lot of it transfers over from school to home, but a lot doesn't. So a huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, daycare workers, child psychologists, and I can't do any of their jobs. And a lot of stuff does transfer, but a lot doesn't. Like there's a few things that I do very differently from any of their jobs because parenting's personal. It's different from all those other ones. It's personal. Those are institutes or institutions, business. It's a different relationship with those children, but parenting is personal. It's very different. So I get a huge amount of teachers. Not so much because they're struggling more than other people, but all those people who have all these child development degrees, they're learners. They want to learn more too. So it's not that they're struggling more than anybody else, but they're learners, right? Obviously, if they're in the education system. Love, love, love your content. Thanks so much. I'm sure lots of people hate it too. They usually leave pretty quick, people who hate it. And if it doesn't resonate with you, then you shouldn't be watching because you'll never do it, right? So I'm not here to be popular or anything. I'm here to get results. So I want you to do what I say. Like what I mean is I want you to apply it. So if I give you some advice, give it a go. Don't just write it down. I'm terrible for that. I write down stuff every single morning. I do my learning time at the cafe every single morning. You should see all the fascinating business advice and life advice I write down. How much of that do you think I actually do? Probably a big fat zero. I'm terrible. So yeah, but yeah, I'd rather you not be like me and actually apply some of this stuff and give it a go. Advice for stopping bottle and soother age. There is no specific age. They're all different, and you decide when you want to do that. But I'll tell you how I got rid of the dummies with my son. He was addicted to them, and he was 18 months old, and there's no way I wanted him having a dummy at that age. But we lived in Australia, and we were traveling back to Canada to visit my family. And I thought, there's no way I'm taking an 18-month-old on a 24-hour trip from Australia to Canada without a dummy, because he was addicted to them. So I held out and I let him have them for that long. The day after we got home from Canada and back to Australia, I just decided that was the day I was going to take all the dummies away. So I had him help me. We put them all in a little baggie and we closed it up, and I picked him up and I had him carry the little bag full of dummies. And we went outside, and the wheelie bin, the big wheelie bin, I said, okay, bye-bye dummies. You're a big boy now, and throw them away. We're never going to see them again. Closed it up, and he had tantrums. I was ready for it. Here I had jet lag. I thought, why am I doing this today? I made that big decision I was going to do it. Anyway, he never asked for one once. Every so often he'd go like this, and then he'd go to look over at me. He was looking for it, and I'd instantly look away. I was not going to get eye contact when he was looking for a dummy. But he never asked for one once. I was absolutely stunned because that wasn't his personality, really. He would normally have tantrums over something like that. But anyway, so yeah, my advice is just cut it off right away and make sure they're part of it. Like have them, bundle up all the bottles, whatever you want, and you can just put them somewhere, like say, okay, they're going to go in the trunk of the car and they're going to go out to the dump, and you can keep them for the next baby or hand them off to someone else. Not the dummies, but a lot of bottles you want to hand off to someone else. So yeah, but it's got to be a big symbol of this happening. Like here we're doing it, and bye-bye, they're all gone. And then buy them something else. I think I bought him little sippy cups, something that he could sort of chew on, the straw, something he could chew on instead of and he didn't even do it for that long. He just was something, to chew on for maybe one day. But then, yeah, he never asked again. But that wouldn't have worked with his dad. It depends on the parent. Like he knew when I said something, it was going to happen. His dad was more the pleaser. There usually is if there's a leader, there's usually a pleaser. There's one very strong leader in the parents usually. And that's usually the way it goes. There's nothing wrong with that. Can't both be the leader, right? You can both have a lot of leadership qualities, but there is usually one very clear leader. And that was me. It was my mom, and it was me. And but he would defer to me. But still, when he was on his own with the kids, he would be more likely to fudge and say, okay, well, how about we just have a dummy now for an hour? And then, he would have, they knew that. So they would have kicked up more of a storm with him. Whereas when mom said something, he knew when those dummies went in that bin, they were never coming out. So he didn't fight it, which was not like him. Oh, only Instagram. Yeah, Instagram seems to be, I guess they're all quite separate, aren't they? I don't look at any of them. I don't do TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. I guess because I'm on here all the time anyway, so I don't tend to do that. But I'm a YouTuber. But that YouTube is not social media. YouTube is, because that's not where you connect with other people. It's a search engine. So if I have a question about something, I go right to YouTube. Way more than I should. Some of the stupid things I look up. I can waste so much time on there. What do you do when your toddler whines constantly after being told what to do? Just ignore it. If they don't do it, then I don't know. Like, I don't know what it is. Is it something that they have to do that you have to go? Like, you have to go out? Okay, get your shoes. We're going to go out. And they don't do it. I would pick them up, pick up their shoes, and go anyway. I don't repeat myself. I only say something once. The only reason my kids never whined because they knew there was no point. Like, it would never change my mind. They knew if I said something and if they didn't do it, it was going to happen right then. Like, you say something once, only when it's appropriate. Like, if they just got up from a nap, I wouldn't say, okay, time to make your bed. It was appropriate where, they were kind of set up to be ready to go out kind of thing. But then, yeah, I just took action. And I don't care if they were whining or not. What difference does it make? Their attitude doesn't mean anything to me with that sort of thing. Like, they can't get their own way with me just with bad attitude. Because it doesn't bother me. Thanks for all your wonderful insights. You're very welcome. You're so helpful. From Instagram. Great. Okay. Yeah, because most people, I thought most people would come from Facebook to Instagram on these lives, but evidently not. So, 1-year-old hates car seat, doesn't even bend to sit her down. Yeah, do the karate chop. That's what I did with my son. He would do it wouldn't just go like straight as a board. He'd arc, just go like that so much. So my friends and I used to call it the karate chop. We just put our hands on their belly and we just stand there waiting. As soon as they take a breath and you can feel them weaken a bit, fold them in half, or do the karate chop, we used to call it. Just fold them in half, clip, and they're in. Yeah, so what if they hate it? They got to get in there. What are you going to do? Let them fly around the back of the car? Just follow through. Take action. Everyone's sort of, what do I do if he doesn't like it? Do it anyway. Like, they're little. You can handle that. Not rewards, but how do you use incentives? I know my son, and he could write his name last year, but wasn't motivated. Not rewards, but how to use incentive. The only way I use incentive, it's because I hate rewards. The only reason I use incentives would be like this. I would wait. Let's say my kids hadn't done their chores. And then they said to me, can we watch TV? I'd say, sure, as soon as you've done your chores. So they learned you got to do what you need to do before you can do what they want to do. I withheld what my kids wanted to do until they did what they needed to do. That's why I never told them what to do. I waited till they asked for something. Can we have a snack? Sure, as soon as you put your toys away. And they'd run, put their toys away, and then they get a snack. No big deal. They didn't think anything of it. They learned from a very young age about self-discipline. You got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. So that's the incentive. You want to watch TV? Sure. Have you done your chores or your toys still around? But also, I set them up for success. I'm very organized minimalist. So when I said clean up your toys, they had 5 toys to put away. And there was an empty space where each one went. Because I did a toy rotation system. So I was always switching out their toys like once a week. Or we had a pretty busy life. So I maybe did it once every 2 months with them, to be honest. But a lot of parents say they're always asking for new toys. So they do it once a week. I wouldn't do it any more than that, though. Yeah, reward is, if you're good, you'll get a reward. You know what you're saying to your child? You're normally rotten, but if you should happen to be good, you'll get a reward. I do not reward for good behavior. That's my baseline. I would not reward a child just for being good. I remember once my son, I think it was my son, I can't remember, said, I was just at my friend's house and he said please for something and his mom gave him like some money just because he actually said please for once. And he rewarded, and then he says, how come you don't pay me when I say please? I said, because I would never do that. Anyway, he was kind of laughing when he said that. But yeah, you don't pay for that. You don't reward for that. My baseline is good behavior. I don't reward for that. My son was in grade 2 and his teacher called me on her lunch hour. She thought this was so cute. She said to my son in grade 2, "Why are you so nice?" And he looked up at her like this and he goes, "Mommy makes us be nice." Like he had no choice. He had to be nice. Darn rights. It's your job. It's your job to build nice kids, teach them how to treat people with respect. That's your job. You can do it. Anyone can learn this. I teach leadership. It builds really nice, respectful kids. Anyone can learn this. You are very, very helpful. I'm very, very happy about that. That's why I keep turning up here. What do I do when I ask my 21-month-old to do something and she says no? Well, I think I just answered that. I went on and on about it too. Take action. Like, I don't know, well, what are you asking a 21-month-old to do that they're not going to do? What is it? What are they detailing your car? Like, what exactly? Give me an example. Like, I need an example for that. You're probably not going to like my answer anyway, but what would be an example of you asking a 21-month-old and they say no and you don't know what to do? Tell me what that would be. What are you asking them to do? And then I'll tell you what I would do. Probably not going to like my answer, but I got to say what I got to say. Okay. Okay, my 2-year-old tends to throw things like plate of food, milk. Okay, so they're throwing food. If they're sitting up, don't give them a lot of food to start with because you don't want it all to be thrown on the floor. Give them a little bit. As soon as they throw it, you say no, throw it in the garbage, and then hand feed them. And they're going to have a fit. They probably won't eat anything. They'll be kicking up a storm, pushing, and just say, fine, you're all done. Then wipe them up and put them down. You can try again in like 15, 20 minutes. Put them up. You ready to eat now? And do it again. Put their food in front of them a little bit. If they throw it, say no, and keep doing this. Keep doing it. It's like who can outlast who. You got to outlast your kids with this stuff. They will survive. I've actually never heard of a child dying of starvation through this. They will eventually eat, okay? And don't keep talking about it. You're just trying to feed them. Don't make it like, okay, you better eat now, then they'll kick up even more of a storm. If you look like that, like you look like you're really mad, it won't work. You got to be, okay, here you go. Okay, all done? Got you all cleaned up? Didn't need anything? That's fine. Come back later. You got to win these battles. If you don't win these little ones, what are you going to do when they're 9? Two-year-old boy doesn't want to sleep in his own room. Is this a behavioral issue? I don't treat it like that at all. Well, you might think you might disagree with that. But no, you've got to train them how to sleep in their own room. Like, I don't see it as a behavioral issue, but it's a habit that you've got to get them into, sleeping in their own room. Check out my Bedtime Battles course. There's a whole course on that. It's just one of my mini courses. And there's 2 parts, how to get them in bed, then how to keep them there. It's one hell of a bad night. Yeah, but it's worth it. If you really want them to sleep in their own room, it's worth it. I wouldn't call it a behavior. They're not doing it because they're naughty. They're doing it because they just don't want, like, it's not a naughty thing so much. Yeah, the want is the incentive. So you got to do what you need to do until you can do what you want to do. Absolutely. My kids understood that. I can remember if the TV show was coming on or they wanted to watch a video, because we used to have those old video things. And if they wanted to watch a video, I would look at them and literally I'd watch their minds working. They'd go like this and they'd look and they'd think, oh, I really want to watch that show. Then they'd go in their room and look around for stuff that they had to clean up first. So, and then they'd say, can I please watch TV? I said, have you done your chores? Oh, yes, they're all done. So it was that easy because they learned. It just was a knee-jerk reaction. Like by the time they were about 3 and a half, it was a knee-jerk reaction. They knew that they weren't going to get the fun stuff until they've done the stuff they didn't want to do. But because I was such an organized minimalist, I wasn't asking them to clean up a cluttered toy room. That would be ridiculous. But I was asking them to put 5 toys away in a very curated shelf that was all set up for it. So you got to set them up for success. Like I'm often, someone was watching one of my lives or a video once and they hired me and they said, you were talking about how your kids just ran around and cleaned up all their toys. Our kids won't. You know, we've got this playroom. As soon as they said that, I said, can you walk in there right now? Because it's all done on Zoom, right? All the coaching sessions. And I said, show me the playroom, chaotic, cluttered, overstuffed mess. And I said, are you kidding me? You go through there, clean it all out, leave a few toys out, and then you can ask them to clean up their toy room. It was so ridiculous. And these kids were like 2 and 3 years old. And they expected them to clean up this horribly cluttered thousands of toys in there. You got to set them up for success. Your expectations should be fair and reasonable depending upon their age. Like, I never expected more from my kids than wouldn't be easy to do, than would be, I can't figure out how to say that. There's so many double negatives there. I never expected too much from them. Funny thing is, when you're like that and you make them feel good about themselves because they're always accomplishing things, they're well behaved, they tend to strive to do more. So it tends to get better results actually in the end. Because they tend to excel because they want to rather than you just telling them to. Like, I have no memory of ever telling my kids to do homework. They just did it. Sometimes, I remember a couple times my daughter, this was funny. She was probably in grade 5 or so, and her older brother, she came over to me. She was going to ask me about math. And then I remember this very specifically. She looked at me and she goes, Mom, I can't do my math or something. And she goes, oh, never mind. And she went in her brother's room as if I could do grade 5 math. And she realized who she was talking to. Yeah, I was not the one to talk to about that. Oh, 3.5-year-old suddenly refused to go to sleep, tantrums every evening. Mommy is back to work recently. So you're in the middle of a transition time. So I would suggest, much less time together. Make time every. Oh, I got a million different ideas. I got too many ideas for that one. I would get the behavior board and put your rule. You have to play 15 minutes of hide and seek with her every single night. So you can always find 15 minutes to play hide and seek with your kid. That's your rule, okay, on the behavior board. And then that'll sort of feed her needs a little bit more. And then check out my Bedtime Battles course. It'll teach you how to get them to bed and how to keep them there. It's from 2 to 8 years old. It's all about bedtime battles. But yeah, she's just going through a transition time. But you got to change things. If you don't see her as much, you got to make an effort to spend time with her in her world. It's always in their world. It's not usually sitting and drawing. That's okay. It's okay. But it's usually something fun, like hide and seek, something physical, something fun and goofy, something really in their world that you wouldn't normally do. Yeah. 3-year-old says things like, I want to kill you, how to stop bad language. Yeah, that's just usually a threat. Stuff like that is manipulation because you said no. So I hate to say this, but they must have got away with that before. Like, there's a reason they're saying that. At 3 years old, they find their power. It's for the good or evil. So if you're a leader, it's all good. They get easier and easier when they're 3. If you're not a leader, if you're a pleaser and they get away with stuff, they go the other way. So it's the fork in the road at the age of 3. I'm suggesting that one went the other way because you're not a leader. Set up your leadership skills. That stuff just doesn't happen. They would be humiliated to talk like that to a leader because they look up to you. They like themselves when they're with you, when you're a leader. So check out the boot camp course. That might be a good thing for you, or just check out the behavior board. Yeah, because if they go to that level, they're saying awful stuff like that. Yeah, you really got some work to do. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're teaching parents here. If you were a leader, that just wouldn't happen. So anyway, you can learn how to do that. Anyone can learn how to do this. That's all I do here. That's my whole business, is teaching people how to do this. I had one client a couple of years ago. She could teach it. She got it so fast, I couldn't believe it. And then she was telling me things that we could even change. And she was amazing at this. Anyway, I told her if she ever wants to teach it, to get a hold of me, because I'll be retiring one day. So, but she has to finish the job with her kids first. You can't teach parenting unless you've raised kids and finished the job. Because if you haven't lived with teenagers, how do you know what to invest in to get you through the teen years? So yeah, that's what I told her. I said, when your kids are all grown, I might just be retiring. You don't like rewards? Not at all. What about getting a sticker of new 2-year-old pees or poops on the potty? Okay, that's a potty training reward system. That's not behavior. That's different. I do reward for potty. Check out my potty training course. It's a party. It's actually a party, just you and your kid. And that's rewards, but it's not behavior. It's just actually functioning and doing something. Yeah, but parents will say, well, yes, it is behavior, because if they get mad at me, they'll go and poop behind the chair. I still would never discipline for that. You never discipline bodily functions. There's something psychologically damaging about that. You never punish bodily functions. How would you have handled special treats like ice cream? It wouldn't be a demand thing. It would just be, hey, let's go get ice cream. It's not because they're good. It's just because they're there. Hey, you want to go get some ice cream? I would not say, you've been so good today, let's get ice cream. I wouldn't say that. In other words, they're normally bad. Like, I would never say that. They pick up on that. Say, hey, do you want to go for ice cream? Let's go. See the difference? Hey, you've been really good today. Let's get some ice cream. So they're normally rotten. See the difference? See the shift? Yeah, my kids got stuff like that, but not very often. We didn't have junk food very often. How to handle separation anxiety. I have a 2-year-old, just make the goodbyes and the hellos nothing. Say, okay, see you later. And with see you later on a positive note with that upturn. Okay, see you later. And then go fast, dump and run. And then when you say hello, don't go overboard with that. Say, hi, I'm back now. Okay, do you want to go do that? The hello and the goodbye, don't make a big scene out of it. And it's just a stage. They'll get over it. It's usually like maybe 6 weeks, 8 weeks. It should peter out and get easier. Oops, I got to skip ahead because people come and go. So, oh my gosh, I got a lot of questions that I just can't get to. Okay. Hi from Australia. Love your talks. I got quite a few clients from Australia right now. That's where I raised my kids. I was there for about 20 years. I only came back to Canada because I married an Australian. That's why I went down under. And then I only came back because my mother was elderly and she'd had a stroke and all that. So I moved back. And but yeah, I never would have left Australia if my mom. And it was funny. We were best friends. She was really funny. And I said to her, you couldn't have just died, could you? You had to drag it out to get me to move back. So she goes, sorry about that. I tried, but the heart wouldn't stop. So it was funny. But I had a few good years with her before she, was not doing too well. But anyway, that's why I moved back. It's funny because you move around for different reasons when you're younger. But as you get older, you move for love. Like I love my mom. She needed me, so I moved. I never would have left Australia if it wasn't for her. How was that grandbaby girl? Well, I'm hoping to see her tomorrow. I just asked if I could do a visit tomorrow. They're like a 40-minute drive away, so it's kind of a commitment. So we'll see. I'm hoping to see her tomorrow, hopefully. Yeah, she's doing great. Gorgeous little thing. And they change so quick, too. Like if you don't see a little baby, she's only 2 months old. If you don't see a baby for 2 or 3 weeks, they're completely different people. I mean, especially at this age. Okay, so no advice for a single dad with a newborn. I really would like to hear from you. Well, what advice do you want? You got a newborn? I always say with a newborn, there's only, this is what I always say. If you got a newborn, I always say mom and baby, happy and healthy. So dad and baby, happy and healthy. Don't worry about the housework. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about people's judgment. Just just baby and dad, happy and healthy if they're brand new. Yeah, just get through it. Just try and enjoy the moments. Because it's just going to go by like that. Yeah. A 4-year-old shy daughter just hit a regression of shyness and is having a hard time going to school, even though she's been fine in the past. Yeah, something might have happened. Not necessarily something big, but something that just not scared her, but something that just really made her doubt herself, or maybe she's being excluded. Exclusion, they say, is a form of bullying. Technically, you can't really do that. Like it's sort of, what I mean is that bullying is an action, evidently, but maybe she's been excluded, something's happened. But the best thing to do for shy kids is to get them in as many different activities as possible outside of school. So it just sort of opens they have to learn how to talk to different people. So get them involved in as many different things as you can. Am I late? No, I'm not late. Anyway, but yeah, outside of school, because school is a very tiny pool. You've only got a few kids to choose from. And if they're not like real buddies with, any kids at school, you want to find some buddies outside of school. You know what's funny is, well, not funny, but weird. I remember when I was little, I was about 3, and I was very confused by this. I kept telling my mom, and maybe grade 1 at this point. And I said to my mom, oh, I said this about a lot of kids. Well, she's not very nice. She doesn't talk much. No, I don't like her. She's not very nice. Do you know what I was doing? They just were shy because I was so mouthy. Like I just talked all the time to anybody. It never dawned on me not to talk to someone. I never had a shy bone in my body. And I thought shyness was that they were just not very nice people. They're not talking. Because if I wasn't talking to someone, it would be rude. Like, to me, that's rude. But my mom explained, no, they're scared. I didn't understand. No, I had no concept of that. Scared of what? Talking to anybody? What's the big deal? But yeah, I remember that. Isn't that interesting? So yeah, that's why you got to get her out and teach her how to talk to different people, because she may, just because someone's shy doesn't mean they can't learn how to talk to other people and put themselves out there. It's just going to be more work for them. Whereas with me, I had to hold back. Well, here we go. 19-month-old's favorite word is no. So why do you react to that? The only reason he keeps saying it is because you react to it. I don't care if they say no. Like if you say, okay, we're going to get in the car now, and they yell no, I pick them up and put them in the car. I take action. So yeah, don't let a 19-month-old run you. It's still a baby. So what if they say no? What do you do if your kid is fake crying, almost 22 months old? Same thing. Why would you give that any attention? Don't give attention to the wrong stuff. I always say you ignore the crazy and reward the calm. If they're being ridiculous, like fake crying and all whining and all that stuff, why would you give that any attention? Where you put your attention grows. Do you think visual schedules are helpful for toddlers? I think they're helpful for all of us. I actually have one right in front of me. I like to have a whole section, like a whole grid laid out on what's happening. Yeah, I think they're a great idea. I always had on the board, we had a fridge, I had a magnetic calendar, and I used to write down every place we were going every single day. And then I'd get to the bottom and I'd erase it, and then I'd start at the top again, because you could put in the date, right? You had to put in your own date. But I always had that. So the kids always had a place to go to look to see what was going on that day. But yeah, I think it's a great idea. That's why the behavior board's so big, because you're showing them it's just a symbol of change, of my leadership. Look, I'm a leader now. This is all I'm focused on this week, because you do one rule per week. And this is all I'm focused on, but I'm going to learn how to be a leader. It's a teaching tool. I would never use a behavior board, but it's because it's a teaching tool, how to do this. So you're learning how to do all this leadership stuff. You get a behavior board and you only focus on one thing per week, one behavior per week. I would deal with everything in day one, but I'm level 10 with what I teach, because I taught myself this, or kids taught me this, but you're learning. So it's only one rule per week. And when I say I deal with everything in the first day, it doesn't mean I'd fix everything, but I would address everything in day one, for sure. I would start addressing everything. Hi from Australia. How do I get my 1-year-old to stop slapping me in the face? You never get kids to stop or start doing anything. This is the thing. Parents always want to control their kids. You control yourself. And so what you do is, if they slap you, you just take their hand, you say no, and then I would put them down every single time they do it. So they'll eventually learn. You can't stop them from slapping, but you can stop reacting. And I always say that toddlers under the age of 3, it's all about consistent corrective actions. It's not about words at all. The word no just signifies that you don't like it, that's all. But that's all you have to say. So say no and then take action, put them down. So they will eventually learn, but not the first time, not the 50th time even, but yeah, they'll eventually learn. Often they'll learn something and you go, oh, thank God I got that sorted out. And then they'll start up again in a couple of weeks. That's really common too. And then just go back to it. And when I say I address everything in day one, I do. Let's say they're like 5 or 6 years old and I'm addressing things, and then they do something that's just ridiculous. And I'll say, I'll tell you what, if that comes up again, we might address that tomorrow. So it's not like I'm taking action on everything, but I'm acknowledging it all. No, didn't like that. We'll deal with that in the future. We'll get to that. Okay, do you understand? So yeah, and then I always lead with fun. Play is their love language. If you're not playing with your kids and having fun with them, none of this other stuff works. Everyone asks me about discipline, but it's a tiny part of it. I never had to discipline my kids. I got respect when they were tiny, so I just kind of sailed through it. Never had to tell them what to do or anything, because I was a leader, and they just follow a leader. It's just a natural instinct for a child. Anyway, I got to get going over to TikTok now. Check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can hire me for coaching, but that's can't take everyone on right now. I'm really busy, but you can look into it and you'll be put in a queue if you want to work with me. Anyway, I got to get going over to TikTok, so happy parenting. Sorry, I got my dishwasher going. Where am I going here? TikTok. Okay. TikTok starts with ads right away now. Didn't used to. And we've got construction workers out in the hallway too. So it's very loud today. Sorry about that, but doesn't matter. I can talk louder than they can work. Okay, YouTube. Well, my 8-year-old girl is giving me a hard time in the mornings for school, not sure what to do. Get the behavior board and put down follow school morning routine. And have a routine. Say by 8 o'clock you have to have brushed your teeth, got dressed, put your bag by the front door, whatever. And then don't say anything. If it's not done well and you have to nag her, do whatever you got to do to get her off to school. After school, say, you know, that school, let's go to the behavior board. Remember that school morning routine? It didn't work out, so here's the consequence. Okay, it's like a system. It's just a system. So it's not going to work right away. She'll eventually learn, hey, wait, I don't like that consequence. Maybe I'll actually start following the school morning routine. Might take a week or so. That was on YouTube. Okay. Okay, my husband's the leader and I'm more the pleaser. It's because I'm the stay-at-home mom. My husband works all day. I gets home late. What can you advise me? Just get some leadership skills under your belt. There'll always be one clear leader. It doesn't mean that you can't be a leader also, but he probably will be the more confident leader, right? So just learn how to do this stuff. It's not hard. It's what I mean by that is it's broken down into small habits, like that behavior board. It's just one rule. A whole week, one behavior you want to address. Start, if you're doing it all by yourself, like without the course or without coaching, make it easy, make it doable. Don't start with the hard stuff. You're practicing. It's just you practicing on your leadership skills. I've worked with one of his moms called herself Mousy. She goes, I've always been mousy. I've never been able to speak up for myself. Well, I'll tell you, she knew how to be a leader after 3 or 4 weeks. She was getting it. If she can do it, anyone will. She told me, she said, I'm very mousy. I was, no way I'll be a leader. She learned. Anyone can learn how to lead kids. In my personal life, I'm a follower. I hate leading. I hate it. I don't want to know where I'm going. I don't want to choose the restaurant. I don't even want to choose what I eat. I want someone else to do all that for me because I do so much leading in my business and in my personal life, I'm a follower. So, but with kids, I'm a leader because it's good for them. I love kids enough to lead them. Love your kids enough to lead them. It's kindness. So you don't have to be a leader in your personal life. Anyone can learn how to lead children. They're just children. They need a leader. They need that from you. Okay. My family judges me when my toddler's crying and I know he's tired because who cares what they think? Just say it's my kid, not yours. None of your business. It wouldn't bother me. Yeah, like I would never judge my kids for their parenting. Like, you know what? If they say anything to you that is mean and judgmental, I would say, when you say that to me, it hurts my feelings. What can they say to that? So if they say it again, they're admitting to hurting your feelings. Well, but I'm just trying to help. You're hurting my feelings. It's none of their business how you parent. Unless you're beating your kids, it's none of their business. Because I'm a parenting coach. Tons of people have said, well, not people who know me, but tons of people have said, well, is it going to kill you to watch your kids do things wrong? And I'm like, none of my business. Why would I do that? I never tell my adult kids what to do. I never even told my teenagers what to do, really. I'm not a bossy person by nature. Probably was when I was younger, but I'm not now at all. I couldn't be bothered. I don't want to be bossy. Yeah. It's none of my business how my kids parent their kids. I'll just sit back and watch the show. They might ask my advice from time to time or not. They already know exactly what I do. So if they choose not to do it, why would I tell them they should? You see how bossy that is? Yeah. I wouldn't do it. Besides, who's to say I'm right and they're wrong? Like, this just happens to have worked with all the kids I've worked with in that, and my clients in that. It's one way of doing it. Who's to say there isn't another way that might even be better? I don't know. I only know this one way. This is my own teaching through experience. So who's to say that? It's like arguing religion. Who's to say that there isn't a better way, or it's okay to not be better and to do your own way? Yeah, I'm not like that. I'm not my way or the highway at all. So yeah, if you've got family who are, their way is the only way, then that's a personality flaw. God, I hate bossy people. I don't have anyone bossy in my life. I've known bossy people in my life, but I've eliminated them all. You know, the know-it-alls. They're usually boring people too. I've never known a know-it-all. Actually, I did know one, but they were really funny and fun to be with, so they were worth it. Oh, sorry, they've got construction guys outside my door. Oh, okay. I would love to answer this. Got construction guys. I was on your live the other day. I would love to hear more about the fun you used to have with your kids. I was insane. I was nuts with my kids. And because I wanted to get all that pesky respect and discipline cemented, and then I could just relax and be a crazy mother. I used to do insane things with my kids. Like, I don't know, we just skipped down. I can remember neighbors saying, was that you and your kids skipping down the street? You know, like, you know, doing arm farts. I mean, we just did the stupidest things. And it was fun. I got a lot of little kid in me though. Like, I'm really goofy by nature. So it was easy for me. It's not, and you don't have to be like that. That's why I don't talk about it a lot, because that's more my personality to be goofy. But if it isn't, I had a client once and she said, that's not my personality. It would come across as fake if I did it, because I came across as authentic because I am goofy. I'm very childlike in a lot of ways. My daughter, I always say that I've got a lot of little toddler in me. And my daughter says, no, you've got a real sense of wonder. I get very excited by things. And I'm just kind of like that. And so that I relate to kids that way. But I had this one client, and she goes, I'm nothing like that. And I said, okay, well, there's always something I can work with. And I said, okay, well, how are you going to have fun with your kids? What do you love doing? What are you good at? And she goes, I'm a pretty good storyteller. And I said, oh, okay, so tell me a story. You know what she did? I could just cry thinking about this. She told me a story about myself. From everything she'd learned just watching me and during the coaching, and she told me the story about myself and how I discovered my strengths. I can't remember what it was all about. It was just, I was just like, I wanted to curl up in her lap, you know? It was just so soothing. So that was her fun. So we all have different styles of fun. I used to chase my kids around the house with underpants on my head. That's not for everybody, okay? That's why I don't talk about that a lot, because it's so stupid. And also we played a lot of balloon tennis. Inside the house, I get those flimsy little mallets. Oh, I'm late. I gotta go. I'm on TikTok. Am I? Am I on TikTok? Yes, I am. Phew. I'm always running late. Anyway, I used to get those flimsy mallets or tennis rackets from the dollar store, and then I blow up balloons, and the coffee table in the living room was the net, and we'd play balloon tennis. We did a lot of that. Like, the balloon wasn't allowed to hit the ground. So we did a lot of just goofy stuff. Nothing sophisticated. It was usually dumb stuff. So we had somersaulting contests. We'd just go around, or else we'd go around the house hopping on one foot. Who could do it the longest? Well, the kids could always do it the longest because I was useless at it. We'd give each other makeovers. They're just silly stuff that kids love. Yeah, I don't talk about that a lot because no one ever asks about it except you. And also it was on my own personal style. But you got to learn how to have fun with your kids in their world. It's all about them. I mean, this storyteller, when she told stories, she incorporated the person she was talking to. So that's what made it fun, because you felt like you were part of it. She was just adorable. Very sweet. But yeah, find your own power with children. Find something that you enjoy doing with your children and do it. I had a client, I don't know, a year or two ago, and she she goes, I must admit, I've never played with my kid. I don't remember. I think it was a little boy. I can't remember. I get mixed up after a while. And she goes, I think it was a little boy, and he was 8, and she'd never played with him before. She goes, I take him places and watch him play, but she goes, all he wants to do is Lego. He's always asking me to play Lego. And I said, well, how often do you do that? And she says, I've never done it. And I said, okay, your rule is when you yell, that's your rule, is no yelling. Make sure you yell because you want to break the rule to teach them how this is done on the behavior board. So when your consequence is you have to play Lego for 30 minutes with them. And she goes, well, I don't hate Lego. And she goes, I'm just going to sit there bored. Isn't it going to upset him because I look so bored? And I said, just do it. Just do it and let me know. Report in next week. We'll discuss it. So she turns up the next week and she goes, I never played Lego for 30 minutes. And I was like, oh no. I said, what happened? And she goes, I played for 3.5 hours. She'd never played Lego with him. She sat down and started playing with him, and he was just enamored. He sat in her lap, and they played for 3.5 hours. She goes, I get it. She goes, it's not about, she goes, I don't like playing Lego, but I love that relationship with my son. So it was just a beautiful transformation. So yeah, find the fun, find a way to have fun with your children in their world. So it may not be something you enjoy doing, but you may enjoy seeing your children's joy. And that's what brought her the joy. She didn't expect that. He'd never crawled in her lap before. And he was literally cuddling up against her. And that had never happened before. But she entered his world, and you see the power in this? It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. So that's why I love coaching. It's those stories, it's just, the best. And I was taught years and years ago when I first started coaching, someone said, my best advice ever is never get emotionally involved. I think that's horrible. I'm a parenting coach. I'm nurturing, I'm mothering all my clients. If I don't get emotionally, how can I not get emotional? That's stupid. I always remembered that. The worst advice I ever got, never get emotionally involved with your clients. That's stupid. I don't operate that way. I guess that works for some people, but that's not me. Okay. Do you have a course on how to be a leader with your kids? I happen to have a course on that. If you have 3 to 12 years old, it's my boot camp course. It's in the link above. And it's a 5-week course. It just starts you out slow. We don't go into everything in week 1. Everyone wants week 4. I suggest you read through the whole course because there's different information topics throughout the course. It's just like little additional tips. So read through the whole course and then go back and just methodically do week 1, week 2. You can stretch the course out by 1 or 2 weeks, but do not shorten it at all. It's paced out. I've been doing this now for 17 years. It's paced out based on my experience with clients. Also, I took a group of clients through that course when I first opened it. I think last June or July, I first opened that course. And they went through it with me, and they all agreed. They gave the thumbs up to the way it was paced out. So I don't have a course for teens. The reason is kind of stupid reason. I kind of stupid this way. But the reason I thought I could never have a course on teenagers, because I specialize in crisis work with teenagers, like the life and death stuff. That's my specialty. And I thought, well, I can't make a course out of that because it's so personal. Then I realized most parents are not in crisis with their teenagers. So one day, I hope I get enough time. I'm working on something that's coming up soon. I'm working on something big right now. But once that's over, I'm hoping to get a start on the teen course. And it'll just be general teenage advice. Won't be for the crisis stuff. That'll always be coaching. But isn't that dumb? I don't know why I didn't think of that. Most parents with teenagers are not in crisis. They're just annoyed at their teenagers and not getting along with them. That's not crisis. So it struck me as funny that I'm not very bright sometimes. Once I get something in my mind, I don't tend to revisit it. I'm like, yeah, I can't do it because of that. And then I never thought about it again for years. Oh, well, I'm learning. Oh, this is such a good question. And you're not going to know why I think it is. I fear the impact other kids' behaviors will have on my child's behavior. Anyone else? When you're a leader, they are not influenced by other kids. When you're a leader, they are not vulnerable. If you're not a leader, they're vulnerable out there in the world. They're vulnerable to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're vulnerable. When you're a leader, they're not at all. They're going to come home and tell you everything. They're going to run everything by you right through the teen years because you're their mentor. They look up to you. They like you. They want to tell you everything because you're not bossy. You discuss everything with them. Yeah, that does sound frustrating. What are you going to do about it? Well, I don't know, Mom. What should I do? I don't know. Let's figure it out together. I don't have all the answers. I never set myself up as smart. I set myself up as a leader. There's a big difference between the two. I never set myself up as being smarter than them. Just experienced, but a good listener. And I would say, well, I don't know what you should do. Let's figure it out together. That's what my mom did with me. Never told me what to do, but I told my mom everything. So yeah, don't worry about other kids. Worry about your leadership. If you're a leader, they're not susceptible to peer pressure at all. I can't tell you the stories, how I can prove this because they're too personal with my own kids. But yeah. Your leadership is the most powerful force in their life, sort of, because you're like the guiding light. You're the one that they just sort of run everything by. You don't want obedient soldiers. It's not like that at all. But it sort of keeps them on the straight and narrow, sort of. It helps to regulate them. They don't make a decision until they've run it past you. So yeah, that's your power. Other people don't have power over them. When you're a leader, they come to you. They tell you everything. Okay, it might be a silly question. There are no silly questions. There's some really dumb answers that I have, but no silly question. But what's a good leader? I know people have different perspectives on this. I'm going to read what I think are my top 3 leadership skills. And in my mind, this isn't in here, but in my mind, a good leader knows how to make people feel good about themselves and gets the best out of that person. Whether it's in a job or anything, I get the best out of people and make them feel good about themselves. That to me is leadership. Okay, anyways, these are my top 3 tips for a parenting leader. Number 1 is you stay calm during the storms. So whenever they're all upset and all that, you stay calm. When they're mad, you stay calm. Number 2 is you be crazy during the rainbows. The rainbow is when you're having fun, everything's great. Just be crazy, be nuts, have fun with them. And number 3 is become a great listener. Use this more than this. So you listen to understand and show empathy. From a very young age, it's especially important with teenagers. But you get really good at listening, so they'll tell you everything. My mom was brilliant at this. I don't remember my mom ever telling me what to do, but I ran everything past her. And if I did come up with a solution, I'm sure we talked about it, but I always thought I'd come up with it on my own. I think my kids are more like that too. Yeah, so become a great listener. And you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. A lot of parents make that mistake. So kids will tell you, oh, and I got this other friend doing this. Here's what you do. This is what you should do. It's not what they want to hear. Like when you talk to a friend and you want to unload on them, then they say, here's what you do. Break up with him, go out with him. You don't want that information. You just want to be able to tell them, right? You run it by them and you want to work it out yourself, sort of thing. It's like that. So with your kids, that's sort of the way it is. What schooling did you take? I'm a youth service worker. Oh, youth worker. I'm going to tell you a funny thing. Anyway, and I'm always looking to further my education. Do you know, I've never been hired by a youth worker. I'm hired by tons of daycare teachers, daycare workers, teachers, principals, and child psychologists. Never been hired by a youth worker. Not that I know of. Youth workers deal with troubled teens. And if you can get respect with troubled teens, you don't need my help. Yeah, that's my specialty too, is teenagers. But yeah, no, I've had no schooling. Kids taught me all this. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. I just always was into this. I was always pretty good at dealing with kids. I was always crazy and fun, but they wanted to please me. They didn't disrespect me because I don't take any crap either. But I use a lot of humor. So, but yeah, I lead with fun, but I don't put up with crap. But yeah, so I can't recommend education because I don't have any. You can put in 52 years of volunteer work with kids like I did. That's my education. Kids taught me all this. And I used to work with troubled teenagers. They're the ones who said, Lucy, you got to teach this stuff. No one's talked to us like you have. So yeah, they kind of told me to do this. And it took me about another, 10, 15 years to do it before I didn't know there was such a thing as a parenting coach. So yeah, it's always been my thing. Like I could never I don't want to be a youth worker. I don't want to be a teacher or a child psychologist. Those are all different. Those are businesses. I like the home. Like I mothered all the kids I worked with. I was like a mom to them. That's how I viewed it anyway. I mothered them. So yeah, that's why parenting is my thing. Someone said to me today, how'd you learn all this? Like, how'd you get so smart or something like that? And I said, we've all got something we're good at. You should see me do other stuff. It's lots of stuff I'm bad at. Kids, I just get it. So it just makes perfect sense to me. I can literally put myself in a kid's head at any age, and I can remember what that felt like. Or I've worked with enough kids that I know if he's 7, this is what he's thinking. If he's 11, this is probably what he's going to do. You know what I mean? Like this is just my thing. Lots of stuff I'm bad at, though. We all have stuff we're really good at and stuff we're really bad at. The other thing I'm brilliant at is cleaning toilets. I love doing it. So you should see me scrub a toilet. Can't make money doing that, so not the way I do it. It's very thorough. I clean my bathroom every single day. I love cleaning. Yeah. What age is appropriate to start teaching, working on sharing? About 3. You can teach them not to take things off other kids and hand stuff over, but they don't really understand sharing. It's actually 3 3/4. It's when they're 3 years and 9 months, their brain ticks over and they start to have empathy. It doesn't mean they're going to have it, but they can start to learn empathy, that other people have feelings and deserve to play with things too. They can actually sort of understand that other people feel the way they do. It's 3 and 9 months. But before that, just teach them how to hand something over when they need to and to not grab stuff off other people. But they don't really get it at that age. But I'll tell you a story. This is what I do. If I had 2 little kids and there was 1 swing, this is what I would do. I'm very organized. I get systems going. If there's 1 swing, 2 little kids, I'd say, hey, look, there's 2 of you, 1 swing. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to flip a coin and see who goes first. Whoever goes first gets 1 minute. Every turn after that is 2 minutes, okay? And I always make a game out of it. Okay, so I'm going to start the timer. Here you go. Flip. Oh, you go first. 1 minute. And they swing and they're having fun. Then they get off. The other one goes for 2 minutes. Then they lose interest and forget and they're on the slide. So yeah, I take control. I get systems. And I always make it fair and reasonable. The only reason that kids tend to get upset with siblings and what's going on is it's the unjust of it all. They know if I'm in charge, it's going to be fair and just. So that's why they tend to follow my lead more, because they know I know how to get systems going. I remember once my kids, which story should I tell? There's 3 different ways of teaching sharing. That was just one of them. Another one was with food. We had 1 piece of cake left, and I said, okay, I said to my son, he was older, you cut, and then she chooses, right, which piece to take. So he's cutting nervously, moving crumbs over. I wouldn't let him use the scale. I was just watching this like it was a show. It was so entertaining. So he's moving crumbs over, and then she was only 3, he was 8. And she was sly. She was a real sweet little girl, but she was clever. And she knew this was dropped. Her and I kept looking at each other, watching him do this. Like he just didn't want to get a smaller piece. So you know what she said? I said, okay, sweetie, it's your time to choose. And she goes like this, I'll take the big piece. And there was no big piece. And my son goes, ah. So that's another way. One cuts and the other one chooses, or one separates stuff and the other one chooses it. Another one was my kids were playing Lego and it was all my son's Lego. And so I heard in the other room they were arguing, and they never did that, right? So I heard them arguing, and I said, do you want me to put down my cup of tea, stand up and walk in there? Because they knew if mom comes in, I'm putting everything away. No discussion, right? So, and then they both, and then my little girl said, yes, please. And I thought, oh, okay. So I go in there. It was hilarious. It was all his Lego. She had way more men in this war they were going to play. She had way more men, but they were all the dorky looking Where's Waldo ones, and all, they all had the yellow and white shirts and the red pants or whatever, real dorky looking hats. But he had the cool Darth Vader looking ones, but he only had a few of them, but he had the cool stuff. So, and I said to him, and he was shaking because he knows I love this stuff. So I'm like, wow, it's a great war you got set up there. And I said, and then she loved it because she knew that I was going to make it fair. So she's just standing there like this, and I'm going, yeah, let me see. And he goes, she's got way more than I do. And I said, I see that. So you think that that's fair? And I'm dragging it out. I'm loving this. You think that's fair, completely fair, her side? And he goes, it's more than fair. She's got way more men. I said, okay, I'll tell you what then. Why don't you just switch sides? He went, ah, and next thing you know, he's mixing it all up and making it fair. So yeah, I love this stuff. It's all about systems. I use a lot of humor too. Like I drag that up. He's just shaking because he knows I'm going to do something. But yeah, just get systems in place. Make it very fair and reasonable. My son was 15 and he said to me, I could never rebel because you're too reasonable and easy to talk to. You're darn straight. Like be fair and reasonable with your kids. And part of that is being accountable. You mess up, apologize to them, make amends. I'm great at apologizing. My son used to say, that's because you've had so much practice. Oh, it's funny. Okay. I miss parenting. It was the most fun time my whole life. We just laughed all the time. I can remember school moms used to say, we'd see you going by in your blue RAV4, and all we saw was you and your 2 kids like this. Like we were laughing all the time. There was a cartoon out that the head would separate, and they said, that's just what you look like. We just laughed all the time. It was fun. Parenting can be a blast. Just get that pesky discipline sorted out, get systems in place, Set yourself up as a leader so they feel good about themselves and they look up to you because you want to be a mentor, right? And it's like that sports coach that kids love. They're fun. They have rules, though. They're fun. And the kids love being with them. You want to be fun. I always loved the fun. That was my superpower. I used to say that. People used to say, how do you get such good behavior out of these teenagers and kids? And I said, I use humor and fun. And they didn't get it. Well, what about the discipline? I said, yeah, there's a bit of that. But I'm just not so funny or humorous or fun if they act out. I pull back a little bit. So yeah, but yeah, fun. I lead with fun for sure. That's my superpower. Fun. Children's, especially little ones, their love language is fun. It's not praise. It's not money. It's not toys. It's fun with you. That is their love language. You look at a kid that let's say you got a 5-year-old kid and you say to him, oh, you're so special. I love you. You're so smart and wonderful. Everyone likes you, blah, blah, blah. And then you say, okay, I'm going to go do the dishes. And this is him. That's his face. Now, what if you said this? Hey, what are you playing with? Can I play too? Look at his face. Look at the difference. Lights up. Praise is overrated. Play is underrated. Most parents overpraise and underplay. Kids don't care about praise. It's okay. You can throw it on top of play, but don't do it instead of play. Okay. That's enough of that. What time is it? I better get going soon. I've got a client tonight. I don't usually work at night. I used to more, but if I get someone, I don't know where they're from, but sometimes I get people from different countries. I had to do what did I have? Oh God, I think the latest I ever did was 10 or 11 at night one time. Years ago I did that. I go to bed at 9. I had to put an alarm on to get up. I couldn't even do it. I couldn't even stay up till 10. I think I went to bed at 8 and then I put my alarm on for 9:50 so I could get up for a 10 o'clock session. I don't do that anymore. Isn't that crazy? Okay. Okay, actually, I got to get going. I'm going to end on that note. Lead with fun, not with discipline. Discipline is something that you get out of the way. You take care of bad behavior, but you get it over with like that, and then you focus on the good kid. Where you put your focus, where you put your energy is what grows. If you're putting all your focus and energy on correcting bad behavior, the bad behavior will grow. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Where you put your focus is what grows. Focus on the good kid. You know the pool story? I pulled that kid out of the pool when he was naughty, and then I sat him down beside me, never said another word about what he did wrong. All I'm doing is building him up, building him up, building him up. Was he good for me the rest of that day? You bet he was. You focus on because I focused on the good kid, so that's what I got. Remember that. I don't ignore bad behavior. I don't let anything go. I deal with it, but it's very quick. And I don't make it part of their identity. I don't want them to feel bad about being bad, if that makes any sense. Yeah, you did something stupid. That was bad. There's a consequence. Okay, now do you want to go to the park? It's like that. Don't connect their bad behavior to their identity. Ooh, that could be a whole other talk. Anyway, I got to get going. Thanks so much for joining me. You can check out the link above to get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I'm busy right now. I don't always have time to take people on. Like yesterday, I couldn't take any new people on. I don't know about today. I haven't checked into it yet. But anyway, if you want to work with me, check it out first. Make sure that coaching would be for you. And then let me know why you want to work with me, and I'll see if I can take you on. If you're in crisis, life and death stuff, like with teenagers, put crisis in the subject line. You'll always be my first priority. Okay, thanks so much for joining me, and happy parenting.